yogis. My name is Heather. We're going to be doing 60 minutes of a myofascial release class tonight. And tonight we're going to be working along our side seams. So everywhere from the armpit, down our side, a little into the hip, and even down the outsides of our legs, getting into our feet, right? Our side seam allows us to side bend and even twist, right? Just move a little bit more freely. So we're going to be exploring that area of our body today. So for today's class, you will need either two therapy balls in a tote or two tennis balls in the end of a long sock. Have a blanket or a pillow, and then you can grab a block or two as well. If you have the larger alpha ball, I will give you an option to use that. It's not necessary though, just an option. And then the same with the Coregeous ball. If you have the Coregeous ball, you can grab that, but other than that, we can use the blanket. Okay? So to start, before we lay down on our backs, I want you to grab your blanket and give it a pretty good roll, right? So roll it so it's pretty firm. It's not like you can just squish it up, right? Just move that off to the side to start, and we're going to come to lay flat on our backs. Go ahead, shift around a bit, let the shoulder blades fall flat, and let the arms fall out to the sides, maybe even bring the feet out towards the edges of your mat. Let's take a big breath in and a long breath out. Right, soften the eyelids, let the eyelids close. And come into your breath for a few moments. Let your breath come into your body. Maybe you start to do a little bit of a full body scan from the crown of your head, working your way down through the face and the shoulders, right, all the way down to the feet. Right, noticing how your body feels laying on the ground, how the left side versus right side feel, and where your breath can, move freely and where your breath might get a little sticky. And for our pranayama to start, today we're going to be working with a retention breath. So that's an inhale, hold at the top, exhale, and hold at the bottom, right? Also known as a four-part breath. Right? So just take one easy round of breath in, breath out. And then take an inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. Long exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold the breath out for 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold the breath out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, right? Keeping your own count, your pace for the retention breath. If you need to lengthen it out or shorten it a bit, please do so for, your comfort level. You never want to feel any anxiety as you're trying to hold the breath in or out, right? The retention breath allows us to create a little bit more space for ourselves, for our breath, right? And we know through the classes we've been practicing with together, right, that the more space we have for the breath, the more relaxed our body can become. Right, so you have one more round of breathing in, breathing out. Right, and your next breath in is just an easy inhale and an easy exhale. Right, go ahead, reach the arms up overhead to the top corners of your mat, right? and your feet out to the edges of your mat as well. You're going to take your right ankle and cross it over your left ankle. And then left hand takes your right wrist and you're going to pull the right wrist over towards the left side of your mat, right? So you're in a banana or a half moon shape, right? And take a few breaths into the right side body, right? All the way from your right pinky down the armpit, the side waist, the hip, all the way down the outside of the right leg. Right? Soften the shoulders. Let any real effort in the body, just let that go as you just breathe in and out. Right? Maybe even feeling a little bit more spacious in the breath already from the retention breath we were practicing. And then go ahead, release the hands. Right hand comes back to its side of the mat, and then uncross the right leg from your left. Right? And take a round of breath, just noticing the space. Maybe even noticing the difference. Right? And then right foot stays where it is. Left ankle crosses over right. Right hand grabs the left wrist, and you give a gentle pull towards the right side. Yeah. And then you can soften the arms, soften the legs. Take a few big breaths. Right, and right away you may notice there's more sensation on one side versus the other. One more big breath in. Long breath out. Good. Go ahead. Bring the left arm towards its side of the mat. Uncross the left ankle from your right. Take a round of breath in. And on the exhale, go ahead, guide your knees into your chest. Right, so that side bend from right to left is going to be our check and recheck today. We'll revisit that at the end of class. Right? Give yourself a little rock from side to side. And then go ahead, bring yourself up to a seat. We're going to come to standing, and you're actually going to keep the blue therapy balls in their tote, right? Normally when we do the feet, we'll take it out and have one ball, but today we're going to explore having both balls, right? So let's start with the right foot. Right foot is going to come onto the toted balls, right? And we're going to start with our normal way of push-pull, stripping, right? Now your foot is going to go front and back. Mine's going to turn to the side so that you can see the action that I'm doing, right? So just a push-pull, right? And sometimes the outside edge of the right foot will come into the bosom of the balls, right? And then sometimes the inside might. So you can play with inverting and everting your foot, right? I'll give you a shot head on. Inverting and everting to play with the inside seam and outside seam, right? A little bit different experience than how we normally do with one ball. Right? You can also just roll your foot right in the middle. Right? So just give it a push-pull, push-pull. Let the toes spread wide. You can go as fast, as slow as you want. You can even put a little extra pressure in there if you'd like. And then let's have the outside edge of the foot into the bosom of the balls, right? Go ahead and put a little extra pressure as you roll front and back. Right? Kind of gets the under part of the foot and then the top edge of the foot as well. And then let's bring the inner edge onto the bosom of the balls, right? So we can get the outer inner side of the foot and the sole of the foot, right? All right, go ahead, step off the balls. Let both feet take the floor. Stand in your Tadasana. Just notice how it feels right to left, right? We weren't even on the foot that long, but you may already notice a difference in the space that it takes up. Right? And we're just going to take it to the other side, right? Not much on the feet today, but just enough to feel a little difference here. So left foot comes to the balls, right? Right in the middle, and you push pull. As quick, as slow as you'd like, as much pressure or as little pressure as you'd like. Exploring all those different ways that we don't normally roll our feet because we have two balls today, right? So invert, evert, we'll spend a little extra time on both, but just explore it for yourself. And then go ahead, let the outer edge of the foot come into the bosom of the balls. Start to put a little bit more pressure in maybe. If you find a sweet spot, you can kind of hang out there for a moment. Right? This really is an exploration of your body. So when you need to take a few more moments in a spot, this is your opportunity to do so, right? Go ahead, the inner edge of your foot into the bosom of the balls. As much pressure as you'd like. Once you find that sweet spot, you can kind of hang out there for a minute. And then go ahead, step off the ball. Let the feet take the floor, hips width distance, standing in Tadasana. Notice how your feet feel planted on the ground. All right, go ahead. Flutter the eyes open if they're closed, and we are going to come down to the ground now. You're going to take this blanket roll and put it horizontally across your mat. Right? You're going to come to lay down so that the space right underneath your armpits comes over the blanket. Right? And arms can fall out to the sides for a supported fish. Now, if you need more support underneath your head, another block or a blanket is a good way to go. We won't be here for too long. We're going to get at our lat insertion, right? The insertion of our latissimus dorsi. That's the muscle that is almost like a fan-like muscle that is a really big muscle of the back, right? Helps us pull anything like away from us to us, right? And so take another big breath in. Long breath out. And then you're going to roll a bit onto your left side, right? And depending on the body, there could be a lot more sensation or a lot less sensation here. But you're just going to start to rock front and back, right? You can move the blanket roll up or down a little bit, depending on if you're looking for more or less sensation. But we've done this with balls before, and we will do this with a ball today. But this is just our way to get at those superficial tissues, right? And start to warm up the area. So nice and easy, almost like you were rocking a baby. Rock forward and backward, in and out. Right? And if you find a really good spot, you can kind of hang out there for a few breaths. And this is one of my favorite ones to do on both sides because there tends to be a really big difference from right to left. Okay, so one more round of breath. Breathe in, breathe out. All right, and then we're going to roll onto your back and just take it to the other side, right? So right side over the blanket roll. and you just roll front and back, right? This side may need to move the blanket roll up or down. I definitely have more sensation on this side, my right side, than I did on my left side. When you find a spot, hang out there a few breaths. You may need to move the blanket roll up or down. There's always a way in. All right, go ahead, press yourself up, and you're going to take one of the balls out of the toe. So we're going to start by working on our shoulder blade, and then we're going to roll to the outside, right below our armpit where the blanket roll was, and start to work down our side waist, okay? So your shoulder blade is about the size of your hand, right? And if you reach around your hand to the opposite shoulder, you can kind of feel the flat, bony surface of your shoulder blade, right? And so mine is about right here. It's closer to the armpit than the spine, right? And so you can kind of feel around and feel where that flat surface is. So the ball is going to go right onto the shoulder blade. So there's a muscle that kind of glides over or goes over the shoulder blade. We're going to start to work that tissue, that muscle. So let's start with the left side. As you lay down onto your back, you can shimmy the ball right onto or underneath your shoulder blade, right? And just let your hands rest on your body for a moment. Take a few breaths. Just letting your body get used to the weight of yourself onto the ball, right? And if this ever is too much pressure, you can always take this to the wall, right? There's always a way in, right? And so you can do this very easily, just leaning against the wall. Yeah. All right. Now we're going to start to shift left to right, almost like you're trying, almost like you have a crayon and you're scribbling in or coloring in the whole surface of your shoulder blade. So arm can be lifted off to the side. It can still rest on your body, right? Whatever feels better for you. And I always say this in my classes. We're using balls. They roll. You're going to need to shift them back into place at times, right? It's not something that you're doing wrong. It's not something that should, make us upset or get us annoyed, right? It is what it is, right? Sometimes balls rolling off to a different area, makes us aware of that area. And we're like, oh, I didn't know that one needed attention, right? So just scribbling in that whole area of your shoulder blade. All right. And then find one spot that like kind of talked to you or spoke to you a little bit, right? Talked. Kind of spoke to you a little bit. And we're going to work our pin and stretch. So that means leaning into that spot and letting your arm kind of just move around in all directions, like you had a seaweed arm, right? It's just floating around in all its directions. So we're pinning down the tissue and we're moving a limb or the space around it. Oof, this is always a good one, right? And this is why we practice that pranayama at the beginning, because we come back to that. Come back to that spaciousness of your breath, right? Big breath in, big breath out. Right. All right. Now, same way we did on the blanket, you're going to roll over onto your side, right? Now, for some people, this is not enough pressure. For some people, this is more than enough pressure, right? If you do have the alpha ball at home, you can take this right under underneath the shoulder head, right? Right where the therapy ball would have been, right? So this just gives you a little bit more lift, right, into or off the ground, right? If you have a blanket, you can place a blanket underneath the therapy ball. That will also give you a little bit more lift, right? So either the therapy ball or the alpha ball, right in that lat insertion there, right? So just like we did on the blanket, you're going to roll forward and roll back. Whew, roll forward and roll back, right? Sometimes it feels better with my hand underneath my head. Sometimes it feels better with my arm extended, right? As always, shifting where you need to. If there's ever a point where there's pain, shift above it or below it, right? Side to side. We never want to roll on pain. Right? This can also be done against the wall, arm just reaching up the wall. Right? And then find that one spot that speaks to you a little bit more than the rest, right? And you can go ahead and start to move that left arm. Big breaths in and out. Right? You can even place a block underneath your head while you do this. Moving the arm any which way, that pin and stretch. Right? Or if the rock front and back felt better, take the rock with you. All right, now you're going to move the ball down a little bit. So it's underneath the armpit, right? And you can use, again, the therapy ball or the alpha ball. You can also bring this to the wall. If it's a little bit too much sensation, maybe put a blanket over it, right? This is a good spot for me right here, right? So block can be underneath your head or your hand can be underneath your head. Take a few moments, breathe in, breathe out, find the softness. And then start to shift front and back. It's all these little areas that we don't normally get to in like a massage or a yoga practice or even our typical myofascial, right? That tend to be the most sensation filled, the ones we need to attend to the most. Right? Find that one spot. Start to have that seaweed arm. Maybe about one more breath. All right, go ahead, come off of this. Whatever ball you're on, move it off to the side. Grab your blanket roll again, and the blanket roll is going to come right into the ribs. Right? So go ahead, lay on the ground. Block or a blanket can be underneath your head, and maybe extend the right arm overhead if that's comfortable for you, right? Otherwise, it can rest on the floor in front of you. And just like we've done with the ball, take a few breaths in and out. And then start to rock front and back. Maybe hitting a sweet spot when you roll forward or back, right? As always, giving yourself a moment wherever you land, wherever needs a little bit more attention. Breathing in and breathing out. Right? Maybe your chest turns all the way to the ground or you come all the way open towards the ceiling, right? Lots of different ways in. This is really a practice of self-exploration. Go ahead and press yourself up. You can move the blanket off to the side, and you're going to bring your therapy balls back both in the tote. And so with them both in the tote, we're going to stick with the side seam, right? And bring the therapy balls, they're horizontally, right into the same space that or just below the space where the blanket was. So just below the ribs into that meaty portion of your side waist, right? And as always, if this is too much sensation, you can bring the blanket back, right? Or you can put the blanket over the balls. So balls are horizontal right into our side there. You can have a blanket underneath your head or even a pillow, right? My arm feels pretty comfortable for me as it is. Right? Take a few breaths in and out. Find that slow, deep inhale and exhale, just like we had in the beginning. Right? Soft shoulders and jaw. Then start to add in that rock, front and back. Right? Nice and easy with yourself. This is probably an area you don't normally get to, right? So just being really gentle, moving with your breath, right? Maybe even closing your eyes, right? The action of rocking can, in and of itself, be really down-regulating for our system. Right? Think of how we rock newborns. You rock in a hammock, right? In and out. Breathing in and breathing out. And then go ahead, press up just a bit, and just move the balls down just above your hip, right? And same thing. Lay down, let your head have some support. Take a few breaths, right? And if this pressure, this sensation is ever too much, put a blanket on top, right? Or just use the blanket roll instead of the balls. Big breaths in and out. And then start to rock forward and backward, front and back. Breathing in and breathing out. Two more breaths. All right, go ahead. Come on up to a seat. And the balls are going to stay in the tote, but you're going to take the toggle, or if you have them in a sock, you're going to move the knot that you have that is knotted at the end to keep the balls in place. Just move it out a little bit. We want some space in between the balls, okay? So it just widens the space a little bit. So as you can see, I have a little space in between the balls here. So as we get into the side of our leg, right, this IT band that runs just about on the side seam, right, a lot of research has shown that it's more effective to work the spaces just around the IT band, right? So just to the outsides of the IT band than it is to actually roll or work the actual IT band itself, right? So that's why we create a little space in between the balls. And we're going to start just below the greater trochanter. So when you feel around on your hip, you'll feel this like big bony protrusion, this like round, almost like a fist, right? We're going to start just below that. So working down the same side, so on the left side, just below your greater trochanter, Now, if you have a block or a bolster, you can put the bolster underneath your forearm, right? And that just props you up a little bit more, makes it a little less on the shoulder. And as always, it's kind of hard to see the ball at this angle. As always, you can put a blanket over the ball, right? That just lessens the sensation a little bit. You can even not use the balls at all. Use the rolled up blanket. Same thing. We felt that sensation with the rolled up blanket. Same myofascial release, right? So take a few breaths. Balls horizontally just to the outsides of your IT band. Soft shoulders, soft jaw. And then we're going to start to rock forward and backward. And this is where it starts to get really interesting, right? Soft shoulders, soft jaw, big breaths. Big breaths. Right? Noticing where the sticky spots are. If you have more sensation as you roll forward or roll backward. All right, we're going to just lift up a bit and move the balls. They're still horizontal. Just move them down towards more of the middle of your IT band or your thigh, right? So about halfway in between hip and knee. Relax, soften, right? Maybe a pillow or a blanket underneath the forearm. And same thing, you're going to start to rock forward and backward. Ooh, this is where it starts to get a little spicy for me, right in the middle here. Forward and backward. Big breath, soft shoulders, soft jaw. All right, we got one more stop. It's going to be just above the knee, right? So hip can come to the ground most likely. And you can have just above the knee, still on either side of the IT band there, right? For more pressure, you can stack the knees. Less pressure, you can stagger the knees, right? So wherever you're at, start to rock forward and back. Man, that rock forward is where it's at for me. And this is something really nice that you can take with you through your week, right? If you feel the side waist, the knee, the hip, anything that starts to feel a little tugging, it's usually something to do with the IT band there, right? So again, working the spaces, the muscles, the tissues around the IT band has proven or shown to help release that area or give a better sense of release in that area than actually working the IT band itself. All right, one more, front and back. And you're going to go ahead and come off the ball, and you're going to return to your back. Right? Take a moment, reach your arms overhead, extend your legs out in front of you, and just notice how it feels right to left. Right? You may not notice much of a difference, or you may notice a huge difference. Right? We're not going to do the side bend just yet, but just giving ourselves a little space to breathe and the permission to take up a little space. Okay, so go ahead, draw your knees into your chest, and then bring yourself up to a seat. Okay, so we're going to take the blanket roll once again, put it horizontally across our mat, and we're going to start from the armpit area there and work our way down once again. So coming to lay over the blanket, just as we did in the very beginning. Blanket roll just below the armpits, maybe arms over your head. Support the head if you'd like. Big breath in and big breath out. And then let's roll ourselves onto the right side. So again, working just at that armpit crease. You can support your head with your hand or even a block, right? Take a few breaths. And we'll start the rock forward and rock back. And you can even put it into rhythm with your breath, and it can be really therapeutic. Maybe even close the eyes as you do so. All right, let's go ahead and press up. You can move the blanket off to the side, and we're going to find our toted therapy balls. You can go ahead and toggle them together a little closer, right? And placing the balls just at that armpit crease, right? Just where the blanket was. Head can be supported by a block or your hand, right? Take a few big breaths. Maybe notice if you need to take this to the wall or you need to um, put a blanket over the balls. And then go ahead, start to rock forward and back, forward and back. Breathing in and breathing out. All right, go ahead, press yourself up. And we're going to take one ball out of the tote, and we're going to find our um, shoulder blade on this side, right? So reaching behind with your left hand, finding that flat bone, your scapula, your shoulder blade, right? And go ahead, take that one ball, place it underneath your shoulder blade, right? Finding that space, and then go ahead and start to color it in. Right? From the top all the way to the bottom. It's like a upside down triangle, right? Notice any sticky spots this side compared to the left side, right? Big breaths in and out. And then find that one spot, that sticky spot, right? Start to move your arm like seaweed. Lean in, right? Our pin and stretch. This can be a really intense sequence because you're getting at all those spaces, like I said, that don't normally get a ton of attention. Right. Let's go ahead and roll onto the right side. Now here's your chance to use the therapy ball or that bigger alpha ball if you have it. If the therapy ball, the alpha ball is too much, you can use your blanket roll, right? So right in that armpit crease, go ahead and start to rock front and back, right? So it's almost like we're plucking a guitar string, Soft jaw, soft shoulders. Right? Big breath. So find that one spot. Start to, oof, this is a good one for me. Start to invite in that seaweed arm. Evidently, I got a really tight one on this side. It really feels like a guitar string. Bend the elbow, extend the elbow, move the arm all around. Right? Sometimes you just find a spot to just lean in, and that feels best. All right, move the ball down just a bit so it's below the armpit. As always, you can swap out the blanket or put a blanket over the ball, right? Take a few breaths in and out. And then we start to rock, right? Front and back. Finding that guitar string, right? Rocking with your breath. All right, when you find that spot, and you know when you find a spot, right? You go ahead and start to move the arm in that seaweed motion. Bending, extending, moving overhead, out in front of you, all the ways. All right, go ahead and lift up. Move the ball off to the side. Invite in our rolled up blanket one more time, right? And you may need to actually re-roll it. It may have gotten flat, right? And these are going to go right on the ribs. Maybe arm rest down, maybe block or forehead or hand is underneath your head, right? Maybe arm overhead or left arm resting on your body. Take a few big breaths, right? Thinking, expanding on the inhale and softening on the exhale. And then start your rock, right? These muscles definitely, these tissues definitely don't get a lot of love. Those intercostal muscles right in between all the ribs, like so hard to get to, unless you pull one and then you really know that you got one, right? Rocking front and back, right? Find that rhythm with your breath, somewhere where you can remain soft. Big in, big out. All right, go ahead, press yourself up. Find those toted therapy balls once again, right? Put them in the tote. You're going to toggle them really closely together. We get 2 stops on the sideways before we come to our leg. All right, so we're going to go just below your lowest rib, horizontally, right? All right. As always, putting a blanket over the balls or just using the blanket roll, right? Always an option. Go ahead, take a few moments, relax down. Big breaths in and out. And then start to rock forward and backward, front and back. Right? Noticing maybe where the sticky spots are on this side compared to the first side. Big in, big out. Relaxed jaw, relaxed face. Right? That's how we let our body know that it's safe to let go of whatever it's holding on to. Go ahead and press up. Move the balls down just above your hip. And same thing. Right? Shift as needed. You never want to be in a place of pain, right? And then you can start to rock front and back. Breathing in and breathing out. Yeah. All right, go ahead, come on up. Onto the leg we go. So once again, that side IT band, right, your iliotibial band. We're going to take the toted balls, release the toggle a little bit so it opens up and creates a little bit more space for us, right? So see I have this space in between. They're going to come horizontally just below our hip bone, just below our greater trochanter, right? And as always, you can have a bolster right underneath your forearm or propping your side waist up, right? You can have a blanket over the balls. You can even use the rolled up blanket instead of the balls if this is too much. We never want to be in a place where we're like holding our shoulders, not breathing, right? Take one more big breath and long exhale. And then here we go to rock, right? Front and back. Front and back. Right, coming back to that same rock we've been doing. Right? I like to do repetitive motions during this class so our body knows what's coming. Right? We know at least what's coming, not the sensation that's coming with it, right? But we know what's coming. And that can be comforting and help us open up sometimes too. Right? Let's find that spot right in the middle, in between our hip and our knee. Right? This is always the juiciest, spiciest one for me, right? Go ahead, take a few breaths. And then start to rock front and back. Ooh, I know what I need to do later, right? So always a good class to figure out where you need to spend a little bit more attention this week, right? Or maybe in general. But each week we touch on something different, so it's nice to know what you should be paying attention to the next week, right? Big breaths in and out. All right, our last stop, just above the knee. Most likely hip can come to the ground for this one. Knees can be stacked. Knees can be staggered, completely up to you, right? Give yourself a few breaths to acclimate to the pressure, the sensation. And then start to rock front and back. Being in a neutral space for me isn't that bad, but when I start to rock forward and backward, that's where it gets a little dicey. Soft shoulders, soft jaw. Big breath in, big breath out. All right, as you are ready, go ahead and come up to a seat. And we are going to make our way onto our backs. Right? Give your knees a squeeze into your chest, maybe a rock. Right? Extend legs forward out in front of you. Let the feet come to the edges of the mat. Reach the arms overhead. And then cross the right ankle over the left. Left hand cuffs the right wrist. Give it a little tug over to the left. Right? That half moon, that banana asana. Right? Notice maybe the space, maybe the lack of sensation along your right side. And then go ahead, release the hands, let the right foot come back to its side of the mat. Cross the left ankle over the right, right hand cuffs the left wrist as you side bend, banana asana, right? Big breath. Notice the space. Notice what's there for you. Go ahead, unwind. Arms down by your sides or resting on your body. Legs wide. Take up space. Big breath in. Long breath out. Give yourself these few moments to rest in the space that you created. And invite the breath in. Shavasana. And slowly bringing little movements to fingers and toes. Reach your arms overhead on a big breath in. Stretch your body out. And bringing the knees into the chest or the feet to the floor on the exhale. Softly roll yourself to one side and gently press yourself up to a seat. Let your hands come together in front of you. Take a big breath in. Feel out the space in your body. On the exhale, bow your chin with gratitude for the space you created and that we shared. I thank each of you for coming and spending some of your Thursday night with me. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you have a wonderful night and rest of your week. I'll see you soon. Namaste.